Yo, what is up guys, FOCH here and welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and today I'm going to be going over the FOCH-155, a tech tree tier 10 French tank destroyer. Now this tank was heavily nerfed in my opinion a few months back, and it used to be one of the most played comp vehicles out there at some stage, and then it fell apart immediately. As soon as Wargaming touched this vehicle's gun, they completely ruined it in my opinion. However, the tank is still pretty strong if you play it in the correct form, and it's way different to how you would have played it back in the day. Now, I'm going to be going over the two different guns that this vehicle has and which one is better for you to run, as well as the equipment slots that I use for each different gun, and finally a very great game in the FOCH-155 with the gun that I personally adore. So let's get straight into it. First of all, as you know, this vehicle has two different guns. Which gun you should use, that'll be up to you, but I'll be giving you the reasonings on why I think you should run the gun that I personally like, and the reasonings why I like that gun. Now, the FOCH-155 does have a two-shot auto-loading gun, and that gun was kind of the replacement of the old gun, and in my opinion, this two-shot autoloader is absolutely dreadful. And my main reasoning is that its alpha is only 500 on the two-shot gun, as well as you have a 17-second magazine reload. Now for 500, you're basically doing 1,000 damage in the time that a T-57 heavy takes to do 1,200 damage. So you lose that 200 amount of damage. However, you do get to do that 1,000 damage in only 3.75 seconds, which is actually very nice. However, the accuracy on this two-shot gun is absolutely dreadful, mixed with the alpha being very low, meaning that you will roll most of the time below 500, which just is not enough if you want to clear targets. But let's have a look at the equipment that I would usually run if I do run this two-shot gun. And that would be obviously calibrated shells on both guns. Calibrated shells is probably the most important thing you should use on this tank, because the pen on this vehicle is not that great. And you get a massive buff of 37mm to your high explosive anti-tank rounds. 37mm is a phenomenal amount, and that means that you get about 407mm of pen, which is just absolutely crazy on a vehicle like this. It just means that you'll absolutely butter straight through everything. Second of all, I run enhanced gun laying drive. However, if you're going to use the second gun, I don't suggest you to run refined gun. I will suggest you to run vertical stabilizer, as the two-shot gun is not really a snipey gun because it's very inaccurate. So for the two-shot gun, you want to run it frontline almost, because with the two-shot gun, you want to kind of play it as a frontline tank destroyer, not really taking the shots, but just being frontline, just because your gun is so inaccurate if you're at a far distance. And those two shots being frontline means that you can get there, dump the two shots as quick as possible without having to aim very long, and then back up so your heavies can do their deed. Now, if you do run the refined gun, it's not really going to be useful, as you're not going to be sniping in the two-shot gun. You're going to be frontline, like I said. So vertical stabilizer with the enhanced gun laying drive will just make it that extra bit snappy when you are trying to get those two shells out of there. Defense system, I would run on both guns. Enhanced armor as well. People will be upset with the enhanced armor aspect of this because the tank does not have much millimeters of armor. However, it's very sloped, and so if you do run the 4% increase, while it might not be crazy in terms of boosting the armor that it does have in terms of millimeters, but because of that angle, if you do have that extra 4% increase to the hull of the vehicle, which is obviously this tank does not have a turret, so it will only increase by 4% to the hull, and that will actually be a nice aspect, because when you do verse medium tanks in this vehicle, you will take a lot more bounces than you would usually without the 4% increase. And I have noticed that regardless if you are versing any type of vehicle, as soon as they run calibrated shells, they are most likely going to pen this vehicle with their premium rounds. I'm running toolbox just because you want to repair your modules very quickly. It's not a frontline vehicle, and you do not need that enhanced tracks. Like I said, it is a frontline type of tank because you don't want to be at a far distance from your enemy when trying to shoot with the two-shot gun. However, you're not going to be the tank that's going to be taking the shots, and for that reason, I don't think this tank needs the enhanced tracks and would rather benefit from a toolbox. Now, camouflage net is actually a difference on the two-shot gun. I would rather run the improved optics, as like I said, you're going to be more of a moving around tank destroyer if you run the two-shot gun. And so if you have the improved optics, it just means that you'll be able to spot your enemies a bit sooner than you would without running improved optics, and if you were running the camo net. And because you won't be sitting around in a bush for much of the time in the two-shot gun, you're not really going to take the full advantage of a camouflage net, and for that reason, improved optics will be the best bet if you are running the two-shot gun. Engine power obviously is standalone. You would usually run engine accelerator with both of the guns, with whichever one you choose, as well as the high-end consumables. Now let's have a look at the gun that I personally adore and I think you should run on this vehicle, and that is the single fire gun. You can see if we look at the differences, you can notice that the gun is immediately more accurate. You have 0.3 seconds quicker on your aiming time, and you have a 0.009 decrease to the gun's dispersion, which might not sound like a crazy amount, but when you are running around with the two-shot gun, in comparison to the single firing gun, you will notice that you won't hit your shots as easily as you would have if you were running the single fire gun. And that is why, yes, maybe those numbers sound very low, but they do have a big difference to the vehicle. You do get a bit more DPM, damage per minute, on this vehicle with the single fire gun, about 200 damage more than you would on the two-shot gun, as well as you also get a 5mm increase to your AP rounds, meaning that you just get that extra boost in your AP pen, meaning that you can pin a few enemies a bit easier. As well as you do get that 600 alpha, which was really what ruined this vehicle, because Wargaming thought that this vehicle needed to not have 640 alpha but only 600, meaning that you do roll quite low in this vehicle, and it is one reason why I think that the 268 and tanks like that with the higher alpha gun are a lot more fun to ride, as you can hit rolls of 700 in those vehicles, where this one you will never see the light of a 700 damage roll. Also, another very nice thing if you are going to run the single fire gun is that you can roll 800 damage on your high explosive. So when you do manage to get your enemies, which this tank has about 100mm of pin on its high explosive, you can pin a lot of vehicles at their rear, and that means you can do almost 800 damage to them, which I absolutely adore. As well as one thing, this vehicle has 11 seconds of reload time on its 600 alpha gun, so it's somewhat like a gorilla. If you want to have a look at which equipment slot I use with the single fire gun, it's calibrated shells, it's enhanced gun lane drive. However, instead of running vertical stabilizer, because the single firing gun works more like a sniper type of vehicle, I would highly suggest you to drop the vertical stabilizer that you would usually run on the two-shot gun and rather use the refined gun. This is because if you're going to be sniping, that decrease of 0.33 on your dispersion at 100 meters will be a massive difference in hitting your shells if you're going to snipe with a single firing gun, which I highly suggest you to do. Then we run a defense system. Like I said, it's the same old for that, as well as enhanced armor, and toolbox will be the same thing. However, instead of improved optics, I will run the camouflage net on the single firing gun, because obviously you're going to be in the back of the map. Engine accelerator and high-end consumables is the same old. To look at the provisions that I run on this vehicle, it's coffee. I run the coffee and croissant, improved fuel, and canned pate. Will not change regardless if I'm running the two-shot gun or the single firing gun. They are going to stay there forever. Consumables wise, obviously if you're going to run the single fire gun, you get access to adrenaline, where you won't get that because auto-loaded tanks do not have access to adrenaline. So when you run the single fire gun, always remember to run your adrenaline instead of the speed boost. If you're running the two-shot gun, I would highly suggest you to run either an extra first aid kit, automatic fire extinguisher, or the engine power boost. Now, why don't we get straight into that replay that I was talking about? Now, this replay was quite a while ago. I want to say it is about a month or two ago that I played this game, but it's still a very nice game that shows off how effective the single fire gun can be. Now, one thing I love about the FOCH is that it's very mobile on its top speed. Its traverse speed is absolutely awful, and I do find myself biting my tongue when I do need to traverse in this vehicle, because medium tanks, even light tanks, or I should say light tanks and even medium tanks can circle your vehicle, and sometimes very mobile heavy tanks like the Stridsvagen K. And that is just because this vehicle has an awful traverse speed. Now, as you can see, our first shot of the game, we get a nice high explosive shot into that Leopard 1, and that is just because I'm running the refined gun. If I was not using that decrease in dispersion, I probably wouldn't have hit that on the Leopard 1. As well as if I was running the two-shot gun, as you can see, I also get a fabulous blind fire there. It was kind of assumable that he would push down there because he was reversing off the hill, and I do manage to get a very nice and clean kill on that Leopard 1. Now, having a look at our team, obviously, if you're going to play with these players that are absolutely bad at the game, they're obviously sitting in our spawn. And this means that they're getting absolutely farmed out. As you can see, our Firebird is absolutely almost dead in the first minute of the game. And for that reason, yeah, it's not looking too great for us. We are up on kills right now. However, our team is really down bad in terms of hit points right now. Both our heavy tanks are about a one-shot right now. I do fire a miscellaneous shot to that Jagdpanzer. That will never have hit him because he is behind a wall, but I thought I'd just send it, see if I can get my lux there, but it looks like there was a wall there that I did not notice. Now, as you can see, the accuracy on the FOCH, it's not the greatest. Even if I'm running refined gun and the gun laying drive, it's not really helping the FOCH here in terms of hitting its shells, especially on those shots that I shot there. That's where you would rather have a griller. A grill would have easily shot that shot there and managed to get it in there. Now, I push over the hill here. You don't really see many tank destroyers get up on this hill. I do get penned by, I'm guessing it was the E6 over there that penned me like that. And that is the thing. The FOCH does have a lot of armor, but only in some situations. When it is angling and it is held down, it can be very effective. However, in that situation, as soon as you over angle your hull and you dip down like I had to there in order to get my gun depression to work, it absolutely ruins your armor. Now, I remember the IS-7 being on the left. I'm sitting here waiting for the T-57 to push up. However, I remember that there is a IS-7 on their team pushing straight through our spawn on the left here. So I thought, okay, let me just, instead of focusing the T-57 and risking myself getting in a crossfire with the IS-7 and the T-57, let me just focus and get into cover so that I can just shoot the IS-7. And as you can see, we get a very nice bounce from that IS-7 because I was angling there, and he does not manage to get a shot into my vehicle. I see the enemy kind of distracted, so I think, okay, let me just push up here. Let me see if I can clear this IS-7. I aim for his turret to maybe hit an ammo rack, and we do manage to hit that ammo rack, which I was very happy at the time about, and it means that we could one-shot that IS-7. Now, as you can see, we are a 3 versus 4. We are basically losing this game as of now. The Kranvagn is on full HP, and I have not yet seen their E6 at this moment. I believe he is still on a full HP. Now, we get over that hill very quickly because of the power to weight ratio on this vehicle, allowing us to get on that hill very quickly, snap a shot into that T-57, and then roll back without taking a single shot. Now, I'll roll up onto the same position here because it just allows me to get my gun depression working here and a possibility of a bounce like that Kranvagn managed to do. Now, we do manage to get a shot into that Krang, leaving him not to be full HP, and as you can see, the E6 is still a 100% full HP on his vehicle. And this is quite of a hindrance because it means that now it's only a 2 versus 3 and their team is basically full on HP. Now, I don't manage to get a snapshot of HE onto that E6. I was about to shoot it, but because he was wiggling and moving quite a bit, I thought that I should actually just rather shoot a AP round just to make sure that it goes through. Our E50M gets one more shot into that Kranvagn, making him almost a one-shot, but because this vehicle does not have that great amount of alpha like I mentioned, it does mean that I'm not able to kill that Kranvagn. If I was in a vehicle like the 268, I would have 100% been able to kill that Kranvagn, and it would have only been this E6 to deal with. I get another kind of snapshot on that E6, and as you can see, I took a very hard hit back. And this E6, as you can see, also gun depression being a very lackluster thing on this vehicle, I'm having to actually ram my vehicle up on the hill behind me just so that I can make that 6 degrees of gun depression work. Now, I'm just holding this position because I want to shoot that Krang, and I do shoot him with HE. If you were wondering, that was not heat shell, that was an HE shell. And if you did not know that you could just shoot HE at very hard or at least very armored vehicles, you can just spam an HE shot into them to clear them if they're on lower HP, and I get a very nice snapshot in that E6's turret. I must say, the FOCH's gun is not this accurate most of the time, and I did get really lucky with that shot there. Now, the E6 decides to rush me here, which is actually not a bad thing. He bounces my hatch that this vehicle has, which I'm not sure why this vehicle has a hatch. It really shouldn't have one, and he ends up going for my lower plate on this vehicle, which if you're moving side to side, it means that you can just get him to shoot the track, which is what he did, and I end up killing him with an HE shell. Now, as you can see, the FOCH can be an absolute beast of a vehicle. However, the gun can be very lackluster sometimes, meaning that you do miss a lot of the shells that you really want to hit. As you can see, we pull out 8,000 damage in this game with an absolute mastery. And with a lot of damage bounced, I must say, for a tank destroyer that has quite a bit of armor, but really nothing to boast about. Yeah, we bounced 2,200 damage, and that is quite a bit of damage if I do say so myself. We damaged 6 people, and we killed 5 people in return. And for that reason, yeah, this game was absolutely crazy, and it's why, while it might be quite of an old one for me about a month ago or so, it is still an absolute baller of a game, and I love the FOCH still to this day. Let me know what you guys think of the FOCH-155. If you're going to run this vehicle, like I said, I would highly suggest you to run the single fire gun. Let me know which gun you guys like to run on this vehicle. You can let me know in the comment section below or in my Discord server. There'll be a link to join that in the description of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. Anyways, guys, that's it for me today. Hope your shells hit their marks and I'll check you in the next one. Cheers.